Hi everyone, I am the hostess of the Spinning Knitter podcast, and I am coming to you from the currently Great White North, which is surprisingly sunny today, but also very bitterly cold. We are at a wind chill of -9 currently. We just had 2 feet of snow dumped on us within the past 48 hours, and it has been very slushy and slippery with driving, but thank God we've gotten everywhere to and from safely. So we are very happy and thankful for that. I don't know how long it has been since my last podcast went out by the time this comes out, but I do know that I have progress to show you on my knitting and some spinning progress. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, you will have potentially seen a couple of pictures, but either way, welcome and come in and join on this very cold, blustery day. If I manage to get this podcast out while it's still cold and blustery out in the northern hemisphere. So without further ado, I will dive right in. I have been doing quite a bit for me of knitting recently. Was very sick for a couple of weeks and was unable to do anything, which I did not appreciate a whole lot, but thank God got through it. Doctors said it was a miracle. I'm praising God for it. And the last week I started finally feeling like myself. Week 3 of being sick, I started feeling better enough to be able to knit a little bit. And I didn't make much progress, but I did make some, and I have enjoyed it. So I'm going to share the little bit of progress that I've made with you. And the first thing that I'm working on, my whip in progress, is the Morel sweater by Fiber Tales. So the Morel sweater by Fiber Tales is a beautiful top-down sweater. It is quite boxy in shape. It has a lot of features to it. There are 3 separate motifs. So you have the Danish morels. Morel is Danish for cherry, so that's this motif here. You have 2 beautiful cables on either side of the main panel, which is a honeycomb stitch going all the way down. The sleeves and the back of the sweater are in moss stitch. And it's just a beautiful, boxy, lightweight sweater. And this completely appealed to my aesthetic. I really enjoy Lerka's sweater designs and her shawl designs. I find them beautiful. They're very aesthetically pleasing. They are comfortable to wear, and they're well constructed. So this sweater was a delight to cast on the first time. Ripped it out once, cast it on for a second time. Did not entirely rip it out the second time. I had messed up my stitch count somewhere, and I think I told you that in the last podcast, but I didn't know where, because I had gone row by row and counted everything out, and it should have been fine, and it wasn't. So this is where I was. I was probably an inch past here, and I did pull it out, but I got really tired of trying to. I got really tired of trying to rip back this yarn. This yarn is beautiful. It is the Zero yarn from the Fiber Company. One of my favorite yarn companies. I love how they do things. I love their way that they source things, and all of their products. And one of the really cool things, so I will show you this. If you get the same dye lot, you can actually, they will show you who spun up your yarn and where it's sourced from. And it's so neat to have a company that cares about where its products are coming from. And you can see their website down here. So that's the Zero yarn, and this is in the Divine colorway, which is a divine color. I'm a little bit biased, of course. This colorway is a blend of Surrey alpaca, organic cotton, and merino wool. And it is soft, squishy, and just a very beautiful delight to work with. But it is also very fluffy and halo-y. To give you an idea, so here's a cake that I caked up by hand, and this yarn has been a delight to cake up by hand. But you can see it's got a beautiful, beautiful halo on it. It is very fluffy, very soft. That also means it's not very conducive to ripping back quite as easily as other yarns. You still can do it, but some of those fibers get a little tangled as you're undoing it. So I am slowly ripping this back. I lost the ball somewhere. I don't know where it is. I've dropped the ball. Bad joke. Sorry. That was a very dad joke. What can I say? I grew up with a father that made dad jokes and a mother that made dad jokes, and I appreciate it greatly. So I will continue ripping this back so that I can use this yarn. But in my impatience, I, for the third time, cast on the Morel sweater. And I also switched needles. I had started out with my Targhee interchangeables, and I was enjoying knitting with those needles. Pardon me. Before anybody asks, I don't know if you can find this cup anymore. It's from the Pioneer Woman, and it's an older collection. It's one of the first ones she came out with. So there you go. If you can find it, great for you. If you can't, I'm sorry. I have a cup that you like that looks like an actual teacup that you can't find, and I apologize. But it matches my shirt, and it also makes me very happy. Where was I? Morel sweater. So the Morel sweater was knitting up just perfectly on the Targhee, but the thing is, I didn't have the right size cable to make it conducive. Like, I didn't have a long enough one to do magic loop, and I didn't have a short enough one to just continuously knit in the round, and that was driving me up a wall. So I dug around for a little bit, because if you remember, I did move and things are all in boxes. It's taking me a long time to get unpacked. We moved into a very small house with not a lot of storage space, so we kind of just have rows of boxes that we're slowly working our way through and redistributing throughout the rest of the house. So anyway, I found a pair of unoccupied Addies in the right size and cast on this, and it has been a wonderful, wonderful dream working in the round since then. Not had any problems. And you know what? This is not going to look tidy, and you're just going to have to deal with it. I am so sorry. So the Morel sweater, without further ado, this is what it looks like. This is how far I've gotten. Hope that's focusing. So you can see over here, I believe, I've got, yes, over here, these are those Danish cherries, those Morels, that panel, and then you have your two cable panels, and then the center honeycomb panel, and you can just see this is working up beautifully. This sweater is so incredibly lightweight and fluffy, and it's going to be incredibly warm, I can already tell. But it's also just been a delight to knit on, and hopefully I don't mess with my mic too much, but it's also one of my favorite colors that I dearly love, and I cannot wait to see this blocked and just to get to try it on, which is impossible. See those sides? See that? See that? See that? There's no way with that size space that I'm going to get my body to figure out how we're doing. But I can honestly say that it looks right now like it's going to fit beautifully and be beautifully oversized and drapey once it's blocked. And I've got to show you this. Okay, so the seed stitch, the moss stitch that's on the back, I love it. I'm not a fan of knitting moss stitch because it's just 2 rows repeated. I prefer 4-row repeats because it gives me something to have to think about and follow, but not so much that I can't memorize it. But this, I have not had a problem with this. With this beautiful front panel here with the cherries and the cables and then the honeycomb, I have had to keep track of all 3 of these panels, and it has been exciting because I didn't track them properly, but I know how to read my knitting. That is one piece of advice I would give to new knitters. Learn how to read your knitting. And what I mean by that is this pattern here, this honeycomb pattern, is made up of sets of 5 stitches all the way across. So as soon as you know what the pattern repeat is supposed to be, you can just look at the row before to know which row you're on going forward. You don't actually have to keep track of, am I on row 6 or am I on row 12, because row 6 and 12 are the same and the pattern repeats itself. So that has made it much easier to track the pattern, not having to actually go by row on the pattern itself, but be able to count, okay, I did row 9 before, so now I'm on row 10, and just go to the pattern to find out what row 10 is if I can't remember. So with the cherries in particular, it was good to know how to count from where the stitches started and know what row I was on that way. That is the best piece of advice I can give to new knitters, is to learn how to read what you've knitted. That will save you a lot of going back and forth and trying to figure out where you are. It also makes it easier to pick up. If you put a project down for a long time, it makes it much easier to pick up in the future. That was a rabbit hole, just to tell you that I have absolutely, positively enjoyed the small stitch, because the front of the sweater, I'm constantly checking to make sure I'm cabling the right way, that I'm doing the next stitch correctly and properly. And so this back panel here has been literally just a little rest period, a rest break, where I don't have to think. I just have to go, am I on row 1 or am I on row 2? And because it's in the round, you do 2 rows the same, and then you do 2 rows differently. You do 2 rows the same, you do 2 rows differently. And so it's very easy and a nice mental break here. And then, you know, you hit the interest again before you go and get bored. So that has been a delightful thing. I will say that I don't think the pattern, if you're a new knitter, this pattern might be quite challenging because of how Lerka has you cast on. I wouldn't recommend it for a newbie, but somebody who has maybe knit a regular raglan sweater before, or something of that nature, something that's super complicated but that brought made them familiar with how sweater construction works, would be very easily able to follow this pattern. I would just encourage you to read through it first before you jump in. Reason being that understanding how the construction is laid out will help you, but being able to follow and understand what you're reading is more important for this sweater, so that you don't overthink it or underthink it, or you end up with what I had. So, while I have this off the needles, let me show you. So this is the back panel. This is the beginning of the front panel. You can see the little beginning of the honeycomb. You can see the cable here, and this spot was where the cherries were going to start. Then this is the line that goes, these are the lines that go down the top of your shoulders. So if you look very closely, she actually has you knit these triangle pieces in the back from here to here first. You knit these panel pieces here, and then you join those panel pieces to the back, and you start knitting back and forth on the back. And then eventually, after these pieces grow into these triangles, connected triangles, you join and knit in the round and begin the front. What that does is it gives you a higher neckline. Let's see if I can do this properly. Maybe not, we'll see. What it does is it gives you a higher neckline in the back than in the front, so that it sits nicely across your shoulders. And it also allows you to do that shaping while the garment is being knit flat, makes the increases a tiny bit easier to do. For me, made them easier to do than if they were in the round, and kept my interest. But also, it's just really smart construction if you want the back to be higher than the front for a better fit. So when I started out by blind faith. I didn't read anything to know that I was going to knit up here first, join back here, and keep working back and forth flat, and then join in the round when I cast on for the front. If I had known that, I probably wouldn't have gotten so sidetracked in my rows quite as easily. So that's just a heads up for anyone, whether you're looking to knit the sweater or you're looking to do something else. So that is where my Morel sweater is. I am enjoying knitting it very much, and I hope to continue enjoying knitting it very much. So I also have, I'm not sure which one I want to do next. Okay, I'll show you this. So I don't have the colorway name with me before we get started. I decided to do this podcast very quickly because everyone was out of the house and did no planning whatsoever. So this is a surprise. This is a Ba La Jolla colorway. And I will show you the cake real quick. It is this beautiful light gray, and I don't think the colors are coming across true because there's more than just orange flecks in it. But my cake is a little messy right now, so I'm not sure what you're going to be able to actually pick up on. But I love this colorway. Can't remember the name of it to save my life. It's not the coconuts one. I remember that. It might be a club colorway. I'm not sure, but I love Ba La Jolla for socks. I just love their colorways. So I am knitting a sock. Surprise. And I don't know where my sock blockers are. I will know them sock. Actually, I think I do know where one is. Maybe. Hold on. I know where it is. I can't get to it. Oh well. So I'm just going to show you this by hand and not use my really pretty sock blockers that I dearly love. So this is, once again, on repeat, the Ba La Jolla yarn. And this pattern here, I took this, I saw a design on one of the socks that I can't remember the name of. Oh, this is terrible. I'll put her below. I've been following her patterns for years, and I really love them. But I saw this motif, and I just went, I want that in a sock. So I did it. It's a 4-stitch repeat, this cable here, and I added a twisted stitch on the side, and I added it into my ribbing, as you can see there, so that it flowed continuously, and the rest is just stockinette. So this gives it, as you can see, quite a bit of stretch. My leg does fit in there. I've already tried it on multiple times, but it also just shows that that cable is beautiful. I did mess up in one spot. Congrats if you can see which spot that is. If you can't, oh well. So I'm just taking that down the foot, or will be taking it down the foot. I have already turned my heel. There we go. I've already turned my heel. I don't do eye of partridge. I get confused on the rows. So I just do straight stitches all the way. Regular heel flap and gusset because I really enjoy it. It fits my foot really well. I have a basically flat foot, so I don't have to worry about a high arch. I just need to worry about having enough space in my sock to get over my arch area. So plain 2x2 up here, stockinette straight down, classic heel flap gusset turn, and I am, I think, almost to the point where I can just knit my foot off over here. And I have more than enough to complete my second sock, which I'm very happy about. But this yarn, okay, I'm going to flip it around so that you can see more of the colors. So this, when I say this is gray, it is gray, but it's like, it's got so many shades of gray in there. And then it's got this little pop of orange, but the orange breaks in some spots, and it's got some gold some yellow and a little bit of green in areas. It's beautiful. Right up my alley. And this is a beautiful canvas to design your own socks. So you guys know, if you've been around since, I think the only one that I was able to keep up was episode 3. Something corrupted episode 1 and episode 2. So you guys are probably never going to see those unless I get my old phone working. Something corrupted them and they're not on YouTube anymore, and that's okay because they were terrible. But one of the things I mentioned, and I think that might have been in episode 4, wherever I did the Hitomi Shida socks that I was knitting and I'm still knitting on because that cabling pattern takes me forever as much as I love it. I like to just take things that I love and incorporate them into socks. So this for me is comfort knitting. It's a 4-row repeat, so it's not boring. I can read my knitting. I can figure out what I'm doing. I can pick it up at any point in time, and it's basic. So if I forget what I'm doing, I can literally, before I cast on the other stock, I can just go back and count the ribbing. Like if I can't figure out where my notes were for this, if I didn't have them up on Instagram or I don't have them in a notebook somewhere, I can literally just go right back here and I can count out how many stitches I have. I mean, I can easily figure out how many purls, the twisted rib stitch, many purls, cable, and I can just recreate the sock regardless of if I remember how to knit it or not. Ba yarn has these beautiful speckled colorways. There's a couple of indie dyers that have colorways like this too, where they're beautiful canvases to paint your own thoughts. Holly Press Fibers is actually one of my favorite yarn dyers because I love her colorways. They're beautiful. They are drop dead gorgeous, but they give me inspiration, but they also give me the type of canvas that I could put anything on and really just enjoy coming up with my own recipes, my own sock recipes. One thing that I love about knitting socks is that they're so portable and you can always figure out what you've done before you get there. So a sock to me, it's not, I can pick this up at any point in time. This actually, usually I keep this in my car because in my car, if I'm going into an appointment or if I'm waiting for somebody, you know, that I'm giving a ride to, or if just any little bit of downtime, if I happen to be in a drive-through line somewhere to pick something up or waiting for a pickup grocery order or something like that, I can pull this out, I can knit on it. Yeah, maybe it's only a row, or maybe it ends up being 12 rows, but you know what? The sock is larger than when I started it. And socks to me, I don't have a timeline for. I just knit on them as I see fit, unless they're Christmas presents. That's how I work that. It's a no pressure scenario. Okay, so last thing I had to show you is a spin that I started working on. I started working on it before I got sick, then didn't work on it for 3 weeks because I was very sick, and then picked it back up. So I actually, sorry, there's so many ums in this. I haven't been doing this for a long time, guys. So I am spinning up some Created by LCB. I hope you can see this. This is her Spiced Cider colorway. It is repeatable. It is on Targhee, bamboo, and silk. I think it's 80% Targhee, 10% bamboo, 10% silk. I don't remember. This is by Leandra. Created by LCB is the storefront that she named after her grandma. And Leandra has some of the most beautifully prepped fiber that you will ever come across. It is just gorgeous. Her prep for her braids is spectacular, and I have never had a bad braid of fiber from her. Now, I've had some blends that I didn't like as much, but I've never had a braid that didn't spin well, because she's very talented. She is excellent at her craft, and she knows her craft. So if you have not tried out Created by LCB, I would go try it out. She was actually one of the first indie dyers that I ever got a hold of fiber from when I first started spinning, because I didn't know what good fiber looked like when I first started out. And now that I do, I can honestly say part of the reason I kept with spinning was because of her fiber, because her fiber was so well prepped. It made it easy to learn how to spin well. And the colorways are just beautiful. She has so many. She rotates them in and out. She does most of her colorways on all of her bases, but she does bases at different times in different places. Some of her colorways are retired now, which is sadness. But some of her colorways are seasonal as well. Like, you know, she's got her Christmas colorways, but she's also got her summer colorways. Like there's the Grandma's Quilt colorway that I just love. She does that in the spring, summertime. What is it? Strawberry Patch. I can't remember what the name of it is, but it was one of my favorite colorways. She does like sweater weather in the early fall. She'll come out with a bunch of sweater weather kind of thing. I don't know if she still does custom orders or not, so you'll have to check that out for yourself. But without further ado, this is Spiced Cider, which I am spinning up. So once again, it's Targhee bamboo and silk, so it's got a beautiful shine to it. It also is just a beautiful colorway that does remind me of fall, and I'm going to spin on this through the winter because I don't want a wintry colorway. Everything around me is cold and gray, and I don't know how well the colors are going to pick up on here, guys, but it's got this beautiful fall green in there that varies from like a sage all the way to a pine in spots. But there's also this beautiful, rich, deep brown that's got some purple in it that melds into this old farmhouse red or old brick red, depending on how you look at it. And there's also, I don't know if you'll be able to see this in here. Nope, you're not going to be able to see it in the layers. There's a pop in here of pale yellow, like it's like sunshine in an orchard. So once again, this is Spiced Cider. I am spinning it up on my Cherry Cherry Applewood and Bird's Eye spindles. I do not remember which one this is, but it is a Turkish style spindle. And I am not layering on the bottom for this spin. I am only doing the top layer to see if I can fit about an ounce on here at a time. It's roughly an ounce. I divided the braid into 4, which I will show you very quickly, very briefly. So I have one completed turtle here, and I am currently working on another one right here. This is another one that I have going. You can see this beautiful spindle. So these are from Galena of Cherry Cherry. Beautiful, beautiful work. They spin so well. They're absolutely lovely. And this is the start of my turtle here. And this is my fiber. So I split it. Like I said, I split up my fiber. So this is that pale yellow. It's like a pale honey color or pale sunshine color. It's a warm tone yellow, but it's very pale. And then you can see the bunches of different greens in there. Hold on. I have a better idea. How about I just show you this way? Okay, so this is a part of the braid that I split up. So you can see it's got oranges and different shades of red and brown and that deep brown up here, plummy color, olive green, pine green, sage green, light green, all the greens are in there. It looks like fall. It looks like spinning fall. So, and these are so squishy. Targhee's one of those fibers. I have forgotten a lot of information over the past 2 years, but Targhee's one of those fibers that I think it's still considered a fine wool. The Targhee that I've worked with generally has a very short or shorter staple length medium at most, but the fiber itself is incredibly bouncy. So however you spin it, it is going to poof upon washing and setting. That's something to keep in mind if you've never spun Targhee before. There are wools that I don't sample before I spin them. BFL being one of them, because BFL for me that's the one I started to learn on. And BFL doesn't surprise me when I spin on it. It is comfortable for me. It's comfortable and it's very smooth, and I know what it's going to do. Like, I could spin it from the fold, I could spin it long draw, I could spin it worsted, I could spin it woolen, and it would not surprise me. Even if it was a brand new fleece, I could make it do what I want. But Targhee, on the other hand, Targhee is special in a very different way. The first time I spun it super thin because I knew it was going to poof. I did not realize just how much it was going to poof. That surprised me. So I have always, generally with Targhee, I try to sample because I don't want to be surprised by how thick or thin my yarn is going to be. Because it's got the bamboo and the silk in it, you can see the bamboo and the silk here. It has a beautiful sheen to it. But the bamboo and the silk don't stop it from expanding. That is all a Targhee thing, and it just does what it does. So always sample your Targhee, wash it and block it to see what it's going to do before you do whatever. Especially if it's a sweater quantity of wool, know what your fiber is going to do before you spin it all up. If it's a shawl, okay, it's a little thicker than you wanted, you go up in your gauge. Maybe your shawl is a little bit thicker this way and a little smaller this way than you planned. But garment wise, always sample your Targhee. So what I did with this is I split it all. I split the braid in two, and then I split the braid in two again to get 1 ounce strips. And I am spinning two of the strips, these two in particular, from end to end on the spindles. So I'm going to have this repeat that goes dark, light, dark, light, dark. And then I have two. This is how I split it up. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this through there, but there's a bump here and there's a bump here of fiber. And what I'm going to do with those is I'm going to break them up in the pale yellow parts and spin them the opposite way so that it's light, dark, so that they complement each other. I don't want big spots of the pale yellow. I want that to be broken up a little bit more so there's little bits of sunlight through whatever I end up making it. So that is what I'm working on for spinning. It is worsted, and I'm spinning it in a worsted because I know the Targhee is going to poof, and I don't want to poof so much that all the little ends are sticking out. I do have several other, I'm going to show you these real quick. I do have several other Galena spindles from Carrie Cherry that I am going to be using for this. This one, I believe, here is an apple. I think this is an apple, and this is a bird's eye here. All Turkish spindles, all around the same weight. All the small size spindle. They're just beautiful. I don't know if I can get the sunlight on that quite right. They are my favorite spindles from her. I love her minis and I love her smalls. But you know what? I have a large that I love, which I told you about before. And I haven't found a spindle from her I don't like. They do take a little bit of time to get to the US, so be aware of that. But they are beautiful products. I've never had one that I kept that I wasn't satisfied with. And then if those are not enough, so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I will also add these two if I need to by her. These are two of my favorite Turkish spindles to use. These are hand painted. So Galena has someone who turns these for her, does an excellent job. And then she has someone else that she works with that is just a beautiful artist that paints them, and then she lacquers over them so that you can keep the design on there. But this is wheat with poppy flowers. You can see the beautiful wheat stalks and the poppies right here. And I think this is out of oak. And then you can see here the Dreamcatcher spindle with the beautiful, beautiful feathers. These were two of the first spindles I ever got from her. I believe this one is out of oak as well. They spin beautifully, and I've done lots of projects on them over the years since I've gotten them. So I know that was relatively short, but also not short. But that is what I have for you today. Thank you for listening to my ramblings. I hope you and yours are doing very well, and that you have a wonderful Merry Christmas. Some of us are having more blue Christmases than Merry Christmases, and to you I would say I have been with you there for the past 2 years, and I hope that over time your Christmases become merry and bright again. So blessings to you and your family. If you have any questions or comments, as always, you can send them over to me on Instagram or put them in the comments section here on YouTube, and I will respond as soon as I can. And I will try to list all the makers below. No guarantees there, obviously. Editing time is limited, but Merry Christmas. And if I don't see you before the new year, have a happy new year. Bye.